Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. Welcome to the series of Ekadasi videos. My name is Pastime and today we will be discussing about glories of Pavitropana Ekadasi. Shri Ekadasi, which falls on the 11th day of each waxing and waning moon, is very dear to Lord Hari. In fact, Ekadasi first appeared from the body of Lord Vishnu in order to kill the demon Mura. Observing the vows of Ekadasi is among the first 10 principles of 64 items of devotional service described by Srila Rupa Goswami. One should observe Ekadasi only to please Supreme Lord and not to achieve any material benefits. Sri Yudhishthira Maharaj requests Krishna to explain him the glories of Ekadasi that falls in the month of Shravana. The Supreme Lord Krishna then narrates a pastime about a king named Mahijita who ruled the kingdom of Mahismati. Because he had no son, his entire kingdom seemed utterly cheerless to him. For a long time, this king tried very hard to obtain an heir, but to no avail. Seeing his years advancing ever onwards, the king Mahijita became increasingly anxious. One day he told an assembly of his advisors that he has committed no sin in this life and there is no ill-gotten wealth in his treasury. He asked the Brahmanas that although he is a religious, faithful follower of all Vedic standards, still his home is without a son, and he requested them to tell the reason for this. Hearing this, the king's Brahmana advisors discussed the subject among themselves, and with the aim of benefiting the king, they visited the various ashramas of great sages. At last, they came upon a sage who was austere, pure, and self-satisfied. This great sage was an expert in all the conclusions of the Vedas, and he had extended his lifespan to that of Lord Brahma himself. His name was Lomasa Rishi, and he knew past, present, and future. All the king's Brahmana advisors very happily approached him one by one to offer their humble respects. Lomas Rishi asked the Brahmanas as what brings them to his hermitage. The king's representatives explained Lomas Rishi the reason for their king's distress and requested him to give them a solution. Hearing their sincere plea, Lomas Rishi absorbed himself in deep meditation for a moment and at once understood the king's previous life. Then he told them that their ruler was a merchant in his past life, and feeling his wealth insufficient, he committed sinful deeds. He traveled to many villages to trade his goods. Once at noon on the day after Ekadasi, that comes during the light fortnight of the month of Jeshta, he became thirsty while traveling from place to place. He came upon a beautiful pond on the outskirts of a village, but just as he was about to drink at the pond, a cow arrived with her newborn calf. These two creatures were also very thirsty because of the heat, but when the cow and calf started to drink, the merchant rudely shoved them aside and selfishly slaked his own thirst. This offense against the cow and her calf has resulted in king being without a son. But the good deeds he performed in his previous life gave him the rulership over an undisturbed kingdom. Hearing this, the king's advisors requested for some instructions by which their king's sins can be destroyed, and the king is blessed with a son. Lomas Rishi explained about an Ekadasi called Putrada Ekadasi, which comes during the light fortnight of the month of Shravana. On that day, everyone, including the king, should fast and stay awake all night, strictly following the rules and regulations. Then everyone should give king whatever merit they've gained by this fast. If they follow these instructions, the king will surely be blessed with a son. All the king's advisors became very pleased and their eyes bright with happiness. They returned home, and when the month of Shravana arrived, the king's advisors remembered the advice of Lomas Rishi, and under their direction, all citizens of Mahismati Puri as well as king fasted on Ekadasi. And on the next day, Dwadashi, the citizens dutifully offered their accrued merits to him. By the strength of all this merit, the queen became pregnant and eventually gave birth to the most beautiful son. Thus, Lord Krishna concludes that the Ekadashi that comes during the light fortnight of the month of Shravana has thus rightfully become famous as Putrada Ekadashi. Whoever desires happiness in this world and the next should certainly fast from all grains and legumes on this holy day. Indeed, whoever simply hears the glories of Putrada Ekadashi becomes completely free from all the sins. Hare Krishna.